Okay, today I'm going to talk about assertiveness training using movies as role models. Um, you can teach values all ways. You can think about it, you can practice it, you can embody it as a teacher. But also, seeing an example played out like a narrative or a movie. This is a good way to teach assertiveness by seeing it as a popular character, and it just adds a little variety to the teaching. So it's just another way to teach this. The value of assertiveness, I think, counteracts dysfunctional passivity. I know they find passivity to be a really common characteristic of juvenile sex offenders, and I think it's probably a contributing cause to depression and a lot of the other problems that they have. But in this post, I'm going to talk about two examples. One from the recent movie True Grit. It's a great movie by the Coen brothers, and my example of assertiveness from that movie is the entire character of Maddie is I see a positive but on the comically absurd side of assertive, but still she threads the needle with assertiveness. A historical example and almost larger than life example is Leonidas, King Leonidas. He is very assertive, and he's almost an extreme. So we have two polar spectrums of assertiveness. It's child, feminine assertiveness, and adult leadership, male assertiveness. It's good to have a range, but they both are examples of healthy assertiveness. So I just want to give a quick overview of what I talked about in the past. Is passivity, dysfunctional passivity. So dysfunctional passivity is when negativity passes through your personal boundary. You accept negative situations that you shouldn't, and that's negative passivity. But you want to resist environmental negativity in a healthy way, and so that's assertiveness, and that is looking out for your own needs, but in a healthy way, and as the characters demonstrate. They don't look out for their own needs in a destructive way. They are just very assertive with it, and I'll just kind of let the movie speak for itself with the clips. So this is a clip with Maddie, and this is when she meets her marshal, and I'll just let it unplay. Just keep note of her voice tonality, her body language, how she approaches the situation.
Indian territory, and I need somebody to go after him.
What's your name, girl?
My name is Maddie Ross. We're located in Yale County. My mother's at home looking after my sister Victoria and my brother Little Frank.
Just go home to them. They will need help with attorney.
There is a fugitive warrant out for Che. The government will pay you $2 for bringing him in, plus 10 cents a mile for each of you. On top of that, I will pay you a $50 reward.
What are you? What you got there in your coat? My God. Cold for a gun. You're no bigger than a corn nut. What are you doing with a pistol like that?
I intend to kill Tom Taney with it.
Kill Tom Taney.
It's the law tells to do so.
I'd be some doing the job for him. You'd better the high stuff to rest it on and the law is put behind you.
Nobody here knew my father, and I'm afraid nothing is going to be done about Cheney except I do it. My brother is a child, and my mother is indecisive and hobbled by grief.
I don't believe you have $50.
I have a contract with Colonel Stonehill, which he will make payment on tomorrow or the next day, once a lawyer countersigns.
Don't believe the fairy tales, sermons, or stories about money back, sister, but thanks for the cigarette.
And you have these. It's a perfect example of assertiveness. She is pointed but not pierced. That's one way to put it. But she's on subtly obnoxious, but not extremely so. You show an example of a child with a healthy boundary system, and you see her making these deals throughout the movie. She's constantly going back and forth with her captors, with other businessmen, with Rooster himself, and you can see a girl, a 10-year-old, well, she's 14, just looking out for herself and protecting herself. And this is a tendency that you don't see. This is a trait that's really important for well-being, I think, and a lot of research would agree. But that's a more down-to-earth example. If you notice her voice tone, her body language, it's not like she held on to him. She let him leave, but she also, stepped in the way, asserted herself, but not overly so. But throughout the movie, she's constantly doing that, and just to see that unfold, and to see that an example of a value that anybody should want to embody, but especially somebody that wants to develop assertiveness, that's one good example. So let's move on. Well, let me just talk some talking points here. She's direct but not domineering. She has but does not control. So she's not forcing him to do it, but she is being very direct. Here's the deal. Here are my conditions. Here are my expectations. Very clear. She deals with resistance without being condescending. So whatever comes up, she's constantly dealing with any kinds of resistance, like you're too young, I don't believe you have any money, Rooster says to her, the Jeff Daniels, or Jeff Bridges, and she says, well, immediately she snaps back and says, it's not an angry, but she says, I have a deal with whatever the businessman, and he's gonna sign it tomorrow or the next. And she's just right on it, here's why your resistance wrong. But she's not angry about it. She's not saying, I do have the money, or, oh, you're right, I don't have the money. So she's very direct, but she's not domineering. She's controlled and not condescending. So she threads that needle, and in the assertive literature, you'll see this, when people first start to develop assertiveness, they tend to be overbearing. They tend to take it to an extreme. So it is a balance, and that's any value system. It's a balance. So let's look at Leonidas, the Superman here. All right. This is the scene after they find out that the Persians have surrounded them, and they're going to get wiped out. So let's see how Leonidas deals with this situation assertively. Okay. So let's look at the values here. This is almost like a superhuman example of assertiveness, but the way Leonidas carries himself is a very positive example of not only masculinity, but also like a healthy internal value system and a healthy boundary, a strong, you could say, boundary system. So he has a clear sense of self and values, for one, and that's an aspect of assertiveness. So you know what you stand for, you know what you're about, and you know what you're not about. So this kind of comes up when he challenges Zaxos and says, that's easy for a Spartan to say, or that's easy for an Arcadian to say, but not a Spartan, right? So he's drawing a line. He's saying, that's you, this is us, this is who we are. And that's an important aspect of assertiveness. If you know who you are and know what your value system is, you know what you want in any given situation. And retreat was not part of their values, and so Spartan law, he was clear about it. So he says that's basically saying no, and it was a clear, firm no. But he wasn't necessarily angry at. Well, maybe he was a little bit angry, but he wasn't. He wasn't like hatefully, resentfully angry at Xaxos. He just says, "No, that's not what we're about. This is what we're about." But he also makes that assertion from a calm place. So when Xaxos approached him and he's all stirred up, he says, "Calm yourself. Calm yourself." So this is another aspect of assertiveness, which is you're taking action from a place of calm. So he first starts and he's calm, but he also says, "No, we're not going to do this. This is what we're going to do." So that's another example of good leadership and good assertiveness. Another aspect is challenging. He challenges his men. He challenges Xaxos in that situation. Here's our challenge, or here's our obstacle, and this is what we're going to do. So a clear denial of what we're not going to do, but also a challenge of this is what we are going to do. So that kind of decisiveness, it can have its advantages in certain situations. Other situations you want to more carefully consider options, but for Leonidas, for his goals and also the Spartan culture, that was the best decision that he could have made. So once you're sure of it and you're clear of it, you do it, and so that's the assertiveness. So again, you want to always thread the needle with assertiveness. It's much better than a passivity or insecurity, but it can get out of hand. You can get overbearing. You can become a tyrant. So what you want to do is try to role model people who thread that needle well, and try to think about not only what they did in the situation, but how they approached it emotionally. You get the emotional connotations, and that's what movies are good for. They give a context, and they also show the body language because it's hard to make the distinction, even in words, the difference between being direct and being overbearing. It's such a subtle balance, but these two characters do it well. So that's assertiveness. It's an important part of mental health, and it's a good value to teach, and using movies is one good way to teach it. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more.